Texans win. Now all eyes on Baltimore and Pittsburgh. It was a dub, but there's a lot of interesting things to talk about. Might have looked a little bit different. Let's do the final regular season post-game edition of The Locker Room.
Yeah.
Good luck.
It's The Locker Room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, Locker Room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop. Won't stop. Yeah, we top two and we.
It is the Locker Room post-game show, the final post-game show of the 2025 regular season. I am Landry Locker. Shout out to everyone for coming through. Tonight, we will also do the post-week wrap-up at the conclusion. We normally do it at the conclusion of Monday Night Football, but we're going to do it at the conclusion of Sunday Night Football because that's when the week ends, and it's going to be pretty relevant around here. Texans beat the Colts, and it looked a little bit different than perhaps we thought it would. It was very apparent from the beginning there either was a lack of urgency to win this game or there was just a lack of respect for the Colts. Either way, the Texans definitely didn't pull out all the stops. You saw Kamari Lassiter. He was a guy that perhaps needed rest. He's banged up. Not perhaps. He definitely did. And then Nico Collins, they gave him a week of rest as well. And you see CJ Stroud out there for just a half. The Texans put Davis Mills in the second half, and it looked like they were playing with fire. Like if the Texans lose that game, I know in the first round, it might not make a ton of difference. And in the second round, it might not make a ton of difference. But if the Texans lose that game, then you're looking at a scenario where the possibility of having to go to cold-ass Buffalo and meet a battle-tested Bills team that you've never faced in the DeMeco Ryans era there, the possibility of that would exist. Now, it would be historic because it would be in the AFC Championship game, but that's probably not a place where you want to go. But they didn't seem too worried about it, and maybe they just knew that they didn't really need to pull out all the stops to beat the Indianapolis Colts. So the Texans win the game. Now all eyes on Pittsburgh and Baltimore. I've yet to meet someone who says that they would rather face the Ravens than the Steelers. We were out in the parking lot today, myself and Cody. SNL, Monday through Friday, 4 o'clock. We'll be live at Spanky's January 9th for the playoff edition. John McClain will be in the building as well. So we're expecting a pretty full house at Spanky's for the playoff edition, and we look forward to seeing you there. But I've yet to see anyone that I've talked to that has a rooting interest in the Texans that has said, well, I'd rather face Baltimore than Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is the team that most people would like to see when it comes to the more ideal opponent that you have a better chance of beating. So we'll keep our eyes on that. We'll go live afterwards. Biggest takeaways from this game right off the top. Takeaway number one is what I just said, that winning it wasn't urgent unless the Jags lost. And even then it wasn't completely urgent. If this is a playoff game, if this is a win and you win the division game, I think we see Nico Collins, but this was not urgent. And they felt like they could win this game no matter what or whatever. I don't know. But it also wasn't a very solid first half. Alec Pierce was the can man today for Indianapolis. Anyone can get it. Everyone did get it. Everybody. You saw Tremont Smith get burned for the long touchdown. You saw Derek Stingley get burned for the other touchdown. You saw 42 get some. You saw our guy, Kayvon Wallace, get some. This guy's going to get paid. And we talk about rooting interest. It would probably be in the best interest of Texans fans if he gets out of the division quicker, sooner rather than later. That guy is way faster than he looks.
Race car.
Yes, he is. And there was a hilarious reaction that you don't want to miss. When we go through the recap of the games, the big moments, there was a hilarious reaction in the press box, little bit dramatic, but it made sense when Pierce was ejected. We'll do that in the recap. We'll also hear from DeMeco Ryans. We'll also hear from CJ Stroud here on the post-game show Locker Room, presented by Sleeper. Shout out to Sleeper. My dad was a half yard off. My dad's on fire. He needed longest CJ Stroud completion, 33.5. Hutchinson's was 33. Everything else he hit. He's on fire. I think he'd won 4 straight before that. So we'll trail my dad's picks. If you want to trail the picks, be on the lookout for the community pick. And if you haven't played Sleeper, download the Sleeper app, use the promo code LOCKER, and you'll get 100% up to $100. Takeaway 2, Lassiter was his importance was on display. They did a good job against the run. We know he has the impact there, but between Jalen Smith being gone and Tremon Smith having to play, the importance of Kamari Lassiter has been on display. You saw Tremon Smith. He's been burned for 2 60-plus yard completions in the last few quarters of play, and Kamari Lassiter definitely needs to ice up because he is very much missed. So you saw that, and based on that, and based on the fact they got the dub, it's good that Kamari Lassiter was able to get some rest. And then takeaway 3, on to the playoffs. Obviously, bigger goals, on to the playoffs.
Playoffs?
Yes, sir. On to the playoffs, as Jim Moore would say. So that's where they are, and that's how it goes. Let's hear what D'Amico Ryans had to say about it. We'll get to the Texans Turf, Kings of the Turf. We'll also be live 10:30 after the postseason. We'll go through the moments. We'll hear from a few of the young players that made an impact today. But as we always do on the postgame, let's hear from the coach, D'Amico Ryans, as he awaits who the Texans opponent will be. Take it away, Coach.
First off, just as always for me, what an awesome game. But it's all glory and praise goes to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. It's thankful for such a incredible regular season. Our guys were able to accomplish a lot of great things, no matter how dim it looked to start the season. Just proud of our guys for continuing to battle every single week, finding a way to win games, and to now, finish on a high note, winning here versus a really good team. Really proud of our guys.
D'Amico, did you find yourself at all during the game paying attention to the score of the Jacksonville game, and what went into when you decided to take your players out? Of
course, I saw the score of the game, and Jacksonville was up, so we got a few guys out. I guess, and that's the whole thing about, everybody's talking about resting starters. It's hard to take everybody out. You only get 48 guys to go play on game day, so it's hard to take everybody out. But when we saw, where they were in that game, and they were up at a pretty big lead, so pulled out selected guys when I could.
When you look at Tommy and the way that everyone, the coaching staff and the locker room is talking about him and how he's been a quiet, unsung hero for this defensive line, is how excited was it to see him get on the last play?
I disagree with that, and that's Cole Thompson. I like Cole. I don't think Tommy Townsend. I almost said Tommy Townsend. I don't think Tommy Togiai is an unsung hero around here at all. I think Tommy Togiai gets a lot of love. I think it's deserved love, but at some point, he's just a baller on a defense full of ballers and one of the best defenses in the league. But I mean, if we've been saying he's an unsung hero now for months and he's making plays, he's damn sure not an unsung hero, and he damn sure gets credit. So we can move past that. Tommy Togiai is a core piece of this defense. He's an important piece of this defense. He's not an unsung hero. That might be on an unnecessary soapbox. There's nothing unsung about that guy, at least not around here, and really not anywhere where people talk Texans anyway.
Yeah, there was a huge moment for our team, fitting way to end the game. Thought we would get Tommy. I told him on Friday, the team is going to go crazy when Tommy scores a touchdown. So we thought he's going to get in earlier in the game. He did it, and but to close it out the way he did, getting in the end zone, that's why you saw our entire sideline running down, celebrating with Tommy. Fitting for a guy who does everything the right way. Everything you ask a guy to do, he's a coach's dream. He's always in the right place, always doing what you ask him to do, and very cool way for him to have that clutch moment and end the game with a touchdown.
Coach, can you talk about, you mentioned you pulled out several players, and
Davis Mills came in and really sort of closed it out. That to me, that sort of added a crown to his what he did for those 3 games when CJ was out, and then several other backup players. But they sort of held the fort down just to keep that game when you could win it at the end.
When Davis went in there, and we were a little bit ahead of the 2-minute warning there at the end, and I told the guys it's time for a little Mills magic. Like that's what he's done before. We've seen him lead our team to victory there in 2-minute situations. So everyone was calm in the moment, understanding that we knew Davis would be able to make the plays to get us down. We wanted to get in range there to hit the field goal, and Davis did exactly that. We threw the ball, ran the ball, whatever we needed to do to gain yards. Davis was able to execute the offense in such a great manner to put us in position to win the game.
Well, D'Amico, I know certainly you would have loved to have had a game that didn't come down to the very end like this. But then again, on the other side of that coin, how much does it help you with a back and forth game like this, getting ready for the playoffs, knowing how tight those playoff games are going to be?
As I told our guys after the game, we've been in all sorts of games, you name it. And what I'm most proud of is our guys find a way to finish, no matter if it's like it was today, in that fashion where you need a drive at the end, the 2 minute, you need to close it out. Hey, we can go do that. We're not shying away from any of those moments. That's the game of football. And you're never just going to line up and just blow everybody out. That's not realistic, but you got to persevere. No matter how it looks, you keep persevering, you keep making winning plays throughout the game, and you'll end up on top.
Wanted to see consistency from the offense coming into this week. How did you like how they performed there in the first half, the first team in particular, in the first half?
Yeah, I thought how many points did we have? Yeah, we had over 30 points. Again, I thought our offense did enough to get us down, score points. Just shout out to Amy. We can't be where we are right now without Amy and what he's been capable of doing. Right, to hit 6 field goals today, tied for his career high, tied for most field goals in NFL history in a season. Like a lot of times I tell our guy, you take for granted when you have such a great kicker who's able to secure you points, right? Even if things don't go your way in the red zone, you want to score touchdowns every single drive, but it doesn't happen. You get in range, and you got a sure-footed kicker who can make those points. And we're so thankful for Emi and how he consistently has performed throughout this entire year.
Yeah, I don't know that that's great. It's fortunate. It's very fortunate. You'd rather have it than not. But, I mean, I don't think there's any offense that strives to have a kicker set the NFL record for field goals. I don't think that's great. Fortunate, but probably symbolic of not a very good offense.
Hey, D'Amico, what's the mindset now as you guys get ready for the playoffs and going in as a wild card team? How do things kind of shift at this point?
Yeah, nothing shifts for us is when it comes.
What's the mindset? How does it shift? Nothing's the same. It's week to week. I didn't even hear this. Nothing's the same. We got the same goals every week.
I'm sorry, our mindset never changes. We don't turn it up because we're in the playoffs. We continue to, grind out, put the work in, do what we have to do to practice really well throughout the week, no matter who our opponent is. We got to have a great week of practice, and that shows up, whenever that game is. How we work throughout the week, it'll show up then. So our process, our mindset doesn't change.
D'Amico, when you don't have a guy like Nico out there, it's sometimes a little bit more challenging to get the ball spread out. But how pleased were you when it came to Xavier, Jalen, and Jaden stepping up with that?
All the guys did a great job at the receiver position when they had their number called. Like all the guys did a great job catching the football, running after catch, making some plays. Hutch made a play. Higg was able to get a touchdown for us. Dalton, man, what a one-handed catch he made on third down. So multiple guys stepped up and made plays for us.
Last one. Apologies if you've already explained it, but with the CJ rushing touchdown in the second quarter, was the goal to get Tommy the ball on that play?
The goal was to score, baby. Touchdown.
It was definitely to get Togiai the score, and I think that's why you heard D'Amico say, we talked about how happy we were going to be for Togiai to get in the end zone. So that was definitely the mindset, but fortunately, Tommy Togiai did get in the end zone. We'll talk more about the Texans, the moments, the players of the game, all that. But let's go to the chat. By the way, if you're just tuning in, shout out to Sleeper and 10:30, 10:45, whenever the game ends. The post-week outlook that we typically do on Monday, we'll do today. Tomorrow's going to be all playoffs. We don't need to wrap up shit. We can look ahead. But we will have the post-week outlook that we typically do after Monday Night Football. We'll do it tonight. Steelers Pittsburgh pulling double duty here in the locker room.
Swarm.
Evan says, I'm glad we cut Chauncey. Lions wide receivers are cooking him. He's actually been a good addition for the Bears. I will say that. He wasn't a good fit here, but he's actually been a good addition. The great Tazewell, saw him at Spanky's last week. We'll be there this Friday. Again, he says, hello, I want your thoughts on the CJ rushing TD with Tommy Togiai getting a fake handoff. Smart by Kaylee or putting CJ in danger. It wasn't a designed run. They were supposed to hand it to Tommy Togiai. Something happened. They've had 2 plays that have effed up in the red zone, and they've scored on both. One of them went under CJ's legs, 2 Woody Marks, and that one, maybe Nick Caley, maybe they just need to screw up plays. They're like batting 1,000. One of the worst red zone teams in the league, but they're batting 1,000 when they screw up plays. CJ needs to run. Designed runs at the 2-yard line, probably not ideal. Random Looker 6792 says, cut Kirk with a rusty butter knife. I'm assuming you're saying Captain Kirk needs to not have arrived.
Captain Kirk has arrived. I repeat, Captain Kirk has arrived.
Boy, I don't know what's up with him. Bentley says British Brooks look good. We said it at camp. We said it in camp. Nick Chubb was the least impressive running back on the roster. We weren't saying it to be trite. Me and Cody weren't saying it to be trite. That's what we saw. Sometimes what we see doesn't end up playing out, so it's not like some sort of victory lap, but this is what we saw. It's obvious. It's obvious. Anytime another running back gets an opportunity, it's obvious that he's better than Nick Chubb. It's obvious. British Brooks today, better than Nick Chubb. Jawar Jordan, by the way, the ankle, we got to keep an eye on that. Better than Nick Chubb. Woody Marks, some great running from Woody Marks, by the way. Man, he runs hard. And then Dari Gumbawale, better than Nick Chubb. So, yeah, they add another one to the list. Bearcat87 says, good win. I remember us saying we just have to get to 5-5 when they started out 0-3. But we've been susceptible to big 3rd and 4th down conversions all year. What gives with that do y'all think happens with starters too? I don't know. There have been instances. The Baker Mayfield run sticks out. There have been a couple times. Buffalo, the pitch. I think there's a little bit of vulnerability in the middle that some teams can take advantage of. I think it's easier said than done to do consistently, but I would say if we're nitpicking, that would be it. That Fort Worth guy, shout out to you, mi amigo. He says, who do you trust more, backup O-line or CB? Jeez. You got to say backup O-line at this point because there's no Jalen Smith. Like the O-line, there's not any key pieces injured, but you don't have Jalen Smith, who you traded up to draft to be your 3rd guy. So it would have to be the backup O-line, and I don't feel great about them, but I think that's kind of your point. It's a good question. DW says this could be one and done, Landry. It could easily be one and done. They could beat anyone. They can lose to anyone. That's the reality of this team. Like the field goal record's cool, but it's also symbolic of a bad offense. So yes, they could be one and done. They could also get to the AFC Championship. They could win the AFC. It's wide open. It's laid out nicely for them though. But yes, you are correct. Rich Boy Jay says, I'm just mad we aren't the number 1 scoring defense now. That's all right. Maybe that's a little chip on the shoulder. Jacob does not like the can't blow everybody out comment. You have the talent to beat people 45-23, yet we choose to run an offensive system that can only win 20-16. That's a choice. What? The system. Yeah, it goes back to the system, which you're just kind of stuck with. And then in the offseason, I think those questions kind of magnify and intensify. We do know this is the New England system now. And we've known that for a while. Talked about that. Common Sense says making ATL and NO decide division is cruel. Yeah, that was tough. Could you imagine sitting back and watching the Falcons play the Saints and your fate being decided by that? Great ESG Soccer says worst performance of the day were those trash halftime dogs dropping everything. Also, Kaylee sucks. Running into the line times 30. So boring. Go Steelers. Yeah, I think everybody's rooting for the Steelers. I don't know anyone who wants to play Baltimore. You're going to be favored against Baltimore, but I would say that I don't know anyone that's not rooting for Pittsburgh and wanting to play Pittsburgh. I've yet to meet someone that doesn't feel that way. And it looks like it's going to hold up. Denver right now, God, they are a lame ass 1 seed. They're up 13-3 over Trey Lance and the Chargers. And then, I mean, the Jets, my God, they're down 35-0 to Mitchell Trubisky and the Bills, which is just embarrassingly pathetic. It's going to hold up the way that pretty much that we thought it would. So no Nico Collins today as we go through the moments. No Nico Collins, no Lassiter, and no Chubb or Trent Brown. So Trent Brown's going to be healthy for the playoffs. I anticipate he goes back to the right side and you get your prime offensive line. He's moving around well. He's fine. I think this was an ice up opportunity. I also support I support icing up anyone, especially when you win. So that's what they decided to do. I think the offensive line is as healthy as it could possibly be. And that was the decision that they made. Another decision they made, and maybe this makes sense now. They won the toss and they received. Now we saw them do this before. I think it was against Tennessee, maybe, where they went down to the 1 yard line and the drive stalled. It was with Mills. I don't think this is their normal philosophy, but looking back on it, I think if they knew that CJ Stroud was just going to play a half, maybe you just want to get your starting offense there, more possessions. So that's why you decide to do that. I don't think in a playoff game they decide to do that. So that might make a little bit more sense. It just didn't feel like they took the Colts serious. It felt like they were resting guys. And if they didn't take the Colts serious, now maybe they just wouldn't have had their feelings hurt had they not had to play Baltimore. Maybe there's fear of Baltimore with the Texans. Because they lose this game, they fall back to the 6. Buffalo goes up to the 5. Maybe there just wasn't that. Maybe they're not pumped to play Baltimore. Maybe they wouldn't have minded going and playing Jacksonville in the first round. I don't know. They still tried to win, but it wasn't like an end all be all. They weren't fighting like they would had they had to win the division. So who knows? There's a lot of theories, but the reality is they did not take this game as serious as maybe you would have thought. I can't wait till y'all hear this funny moment when Alec Pierce went down. It was hilarious. It actually made a lot of sense. Me and Cody were in the press box. We'll hear from CJ in a sec. Be sure to download the Sleeper app. Use that promo code Locker to get 100% up to $100. So drive one, familiar sight. It ends up stalling, and the Texans, they end up settling for 3, which they've done at a historic level this year. Kaimi Fairbairn ties the regular season record for field goals. Don't know if that's something to brag about or not, but he did it. I thought Dalton Schultz was fantastic on this drive. And really early on, Dalton Schultz had the 17-yard catch, and then he had the one-handed snag, which you heard D'Amico talk about, for 32 yards. So 1 yard shy of 50 yards. CJ Stroud, a little bit of happy feet with the intentional grounding. Did not need to do that. And this was the first time we heard someone down in the press box to the right yelling, grounding. And I was like, who the hell is this guy? He's not sitting with the traditional Colts media. Who the hell is that? But I guess they had some OG like guy that was like yelling, but he was yelling, that's grounding. And I was like, okay, that's pretty loud, but Texans settle for 3. Then Tremont Smith. If you had fears about Tremont Smith having to hold it down for Kamari Lassiter, those fears were extremely magnified right off the top. You saw Tremont Smith last week when Lassiter briefly left the game, get cooked for 16 and then 60. This time it was a 66-yarder by Alec Pierce, who has deceptive speed, much faster than he looks.
Race car!
He scores a touchdown. The Colts take a 7-3 lead right off the top. Some funny scoreboard watching as that was going on. So as that was going on, they showed the highlight of the Tennessee and Jags game. And you see Tennessee take the 7-0 lead. Cam Ward dives into the end zone. And then you see Cam Ward limping into the locker room. And it was just like, oh, like for a second, you could hear a cheer. And then there was just kind of a gasp. And really, Jacksonville never looked back up to that point. But for a brief second, I think people started believing in the Oilers But in typical Oiler fashion, they can't have nice things, and Cam Ward limps off the field. Then, tell me if you've heard this again, Texans settle for a field goal on drive 2. This one, there was a nice toss to Higgins for 30-plus yards. It was negated by an ineligible man downfield by Ingram. Higgins actually had a 12-yard catch before that. And then on 3rd and 16, Dalton Schultz with 12 more yards. Texans settle for a field goal to cut the Indianapolis lead to 7-6. Field goal, settling for field goals. You're going to be able to do that in the playoffs. That will be interesting. Then some special teams trickery from the Colts. I thought this was actually, I don't want to call it revolutionary, but I thought this was pretty interesting. So the Colts fake a punt deep in their own territory. They convert, and then you leave your punt team on the field. And as the Texans are shuffling to get the defense back out, they have 12 men on the field, and you're basically just running a wildcat. You're throwing it up to the guy up front. So you convert the fake punt, and then you draw the penalty by being extra quick. I thought that was pretty interesting. Some good trickery, and the Colts do score 3 points there to make it 10-6. Did you at any point think, okay, the Texans could lose this game at this point? We thought they were going all in and CJ Stroud was going to play the whole time, but I think watching at this point, you figured, well, the Texans starters are staying in. But did you at any point say, damn, the Texans could really lose this game at this point? I don't know that really had set in up to that point. Then the Texans, Woody Marks, man, that break that Woody Marks got, the ice up, as I call it, it's paid off. The dude he runs hard. 33 yards of Woody Marks rushing. There was a really strong 6-yard run after Hutchinson had a 33-yard reception, which was a half yard shy of the reception we needed on the sleeper pick. And then you add Woody Marks with a really, really nice run to move the chains. Then Woody Marks for 9. Then on 3rd and 5, Woody Marks for 5. He moves the chains. And then I think that hard running, you can connect it to the play action, and then just probably Stroud's best throw of the day to Higgins in the end zone. And Higgins scores the touchdown, and the Texans take the 13-10 lead. Then Tommy Togiai had a hell of a game. Forced fumble, recovered at the Texans' 1-yard line, and the Texans are immediately cooking right there. They're immediately cooking at that point. You're feeling pretty good about yourself, I would say, at that point, with the Togiai forced fumble. You end up scoring there. A botched play. Supposed to be a handoff to Tommy Togiai. Instead, CJ Stroud keeps it. He scores the touchdown, and the Texans go up 20-10. You think, okay, they're not going to look back. Well, they can, man. Anyone can get it. Alec Pierce comes out there. He gets a 30-yard PI on our guy Kayvon Wallace, who we talked to this week. Kayvon Wallace kind of scared Michael Pittman. It looked like he heard the footsteps, but in coverage, Kayvon Wallace struggled. He had the dropped interception. Then he got mixed like a mofo by Alec Pierce. Got a PI, and then Derek Stingley, step right up. You're the next contestant. Alec Pierce scores a touchdown on Derek Stingley, and the Can Man makes it 20-17 Texans. And that dude is going to get some serious bread. I think he averaged 22 yards a catch this year. I don't know what he's going to get this offseason, but it's going to be a lot. He's going to get a lot of money, and we'd hear a little bit of controversy involving him a little later on. Then the Texans, I thought D'Amico Ryans actually did a good job with the clock management at the end of this. He was calling timeouts. He called a timeout on their 1st and goal from the 5 to keep the time. And the Texans, they go down, not smoothly, but they go down and they get 3 points at the end of the half to make it 23-17. Very good clock management by D'Amico there. I thought he did a good job. I said it in the moment to Stoots in the press box. I thought this was good clock management by D'Amico. But then you go do whatever you got to do. If you're at the house, you go use the restroom, you call somebody, you flip to red zone, you watch the halftime, whatever the hell you do. You do that, and then all of a sudden, the Texans transitioned. They transitioned. at halftime into preseason mode. It was a transition by D'Amico and company. They went to preseason mode. And they brought in Davis Mills. They benched a lot of the starters, and immediately the Colts take advantage. The can man doing his thing again. Alec Pierce continuing to just completely mix dudes up. He gets another 42-yard catch. Then Riley Leonard scores a touchdown, and I'll be damned. The Colts take a 24-23 lead. And what am I thinking at this point? Damn, the Texans must not have the fear of potentially having to go to Buffalo that I do. Maybe they just want the Jags. I don't know. Maybe they don't want to go to Baltimore. Don't know. But this was the point where I thought, okay, maybe they could lose this game, and maybe it's because they just don't give a rat's ass. They gave us early hints with the inactives that they didn't give a rat's ass about Indianapolis as being a threat. And then they went extreme in the second half as they looked up at the scoreboard. You heard D'Amico Ryans earlier say, yeah, it was about the scoreboard. So they do that. But then the Texans drive on drive 8, a 41-yarder gives them the lead. They get the lead back to make it 26-24. And at this point, add another one to the list. British Brooks, better than Nick Chubb. I know there's a lot of British Brooks fans. I kind of roll my eyes at it. Better than Nick Chubb. Add him to the list. He looked better in camp. We said that. British Brooks, step right up. It's crowded here. You're the next contestant in running backs on the Texans better than Nick Chubb. Then some controversy, and the Colts take the lead back. So you have a couple of third down conversions by the Colts. Actually, 3 third down conversions before a third down attempt to Alec Pierce, where he thought he was interfered with, and he ends up getting actually ejected. But the Colts settle for a field goal to make it 27-26. And immediately after the ejection, I hear that same guy from earlier that was yelling, intentional grounding, intentional grounding. He kept calling plays. He kept saying stuff. I hear this guy, as soon as Alec Pierce is ejected, me and Stoots hear a guy in cap. We're kind of laughing. We just think it's like a redneck sounding guy that's in the Colts media, because he's to the right of the media section, probably like 6 seats away from the Indianapolis traditional media. I think maybe it's just like someone who's like a media type that just kind of travels every once in a while and, I don't know, wants to see a game or whatever. But he's like, that's our best kid. That's our best kid. When Alec Pierce gets ejected, that's the nicest guy on this team. That's our best kid. And I don't really think anything of it. I'm like, okay, that's kind of awkward. I look over to Texans Cap. I'm like, geez, this guy's pretty passionate. And Cap's like, yeah. Stoots is like, geez, that's a lot in a press box. And I'm like, that's kind of interesting. Then I hear the guy talking, and I look over. It was Chris Ballard, general manager of the Colts. Chris Ballard, the general manager of the Colts, was the one who was pissed off, which made it all make sense. That's our best kid. That's our best kid. Intentional grounding. It was Chris Ballard, GM of the Colts, getting pretty worked up in the press box. So that's the funny moment that I teased earlier in the show. Then the Texans take back the lead, though, on drive 10. Not necessarily Mills magic, but Mills good enough. More British Brooks. And then the Texans take the 29-27 lead, but they give it right back to Indianapolis after that. And then I actually had put Mills magic in parentheses. You heard D'Amico Ryans just say Mills magic time. So me and D'Amico, we're like one and the same. If D'Amico thinks it, I think it. So regardless of what y'all say, you guys good, anything like that, me and D'Amico, we think the same. We're like this. So we were thinking the same. I was thinking Mills magic. D'Amico was thinking Mills magic. And the Texans get it with a little bit over 2 minutes remaining right off the top. British Brooks. British Brooks with the run. Then a couple of nice passes from Davis Mills. A.K.A. Mr. Clutch. He throws it to Hutchinson. Hutchinson gets inside of Indianapolis territory. Then a pass to Jalen Knoll to inside the 30. And then Fairbairn ties the record for most field goals in a game. He kicks the game winner to make it 32-30. And then Tommy Togiai would add the FU with the touchdown to make it 38-30. So the Texans win the game, and that's where we're at now. Now it is time to look forward to the playoffs. We'll talk about that. We'll give the Kings of the Turf. But first, let's hear from the quarterback. Let's hear from CJ Stroud. Let's hear what he had to say. Texans go in the playoffs. Third time in 3 years for CJ. How's he feeling?
You knew you probably wouldn't play the whole game if Jacksonville got a big lead on Tennessee. How did you feel when you found out, okay, you're done?
I wanted to keep playing. I feel like I was just getting in the groove. And, we had a rough first quarter, but I felt in the second quarter, we were moving the ball, scored in the red zone twice. I'm always – whenever I get the chance to play, I want to play as much as I can. So, but I understand why I wasn't able to, and got to just move on.
What are your thoughts about 12-5 and moving on into the playoffs now and going to either Baltimore or Pittsburgh next week?
For me, I just got to give God the glory, man. I think I look back at this year, I look back at my life, I look back at everything that I've been through. I know he's had his hand on me, even in times where it doesn't feel like it. But I think, just a testament of, you don't really learn on mountaintops. You really, most of the time, you learn in valleys. And I think, the Lord has, really had his hand on his team from, our head coach all the way down to, our players. And I think, I'm just really grateful that, God has put us together on this 2025-26 Texans team. And, we got the world ahead of us, but to go out and be 12-5 in the regular season, the best record I've had so far in the league, with the start we had, it's just been a blessing. I'm just really grateful to God that, I have my brothers and teammates to do it with.
Well, talking about that, do you not feel like that the testimony that you and D'Amico and all the players are giving, that I know everybody says, oh, God doesn't care about football, but that he is blessing you guys because of the testimony that you're giving this season?
I think I don't want it to ever be confused. I don't think God is like the Texans are going to win, but I think regardless of win or loss, he gets the glory. And that's up to us, and that's just worship. And I think, him giving us our talents, our abilities, and these jobs, he's more than worthy of all the worship. And that's just really why we do what we do. It's not because we want favor from the Lord, even though, that would be nice. But I think, in my opinion, you don't just get favor from the Lord because you just give him glory, but he deserves it and he's worthy of it. And I look back on my life, he's been faithful. But yeah, it's just not because we all follow Jesus that we just win every game. But regardless, and I think it shows the world when you lose and you do not doing well, how you profess your faith or you go about your life when things aren't going great is the testimony and really the testament of your faith and your journey and your witness to everybody else.
See that you all were able to move the ball downfield there in the first half while y'all were there. Did you feel like y'all were able to accomplish what y'all set out to accomplish as an offense as you close out the season?
Yeah, I think we moved the ball really well. And even the first quarter, we just, I had the intentional grounding and missed a couple reads, and I think, there was a couple of those, in every aspect. And I think at the end of the day, we overcame it, and that's a good thing. But we got to get those things fixed, if we want to go win in the playoffs. And, I'm aware of that, and I think our coaches are, and I know everybody is here. So we're going to get those things fixed. And, but at the end of the day, it's all about finishing and getting wins. And I think the way we ended this game is a testament to how our season's kind of gone. A lot of up and down, but I think if you just stay faithful, you stay. And it's like I told y'all before, it's easy to have faith when it's easy, but when it gets a little hard, who has the real faith and the work that we put in, I think, we trust in one another, to get the job done.
CJ, forgive me if you already asked this, but on the touchdown run at their goal line, when you ran it in for 2 yards, was that supposed to be a run for Tommy, or was that a design run for you?
No, it was for Tommy. It was for Tommy. I felt bad because, it's always weird when you're under center and, they got some big boys over there. And I know he's a big guy. And he's breathing and, I'm like, I got to get out. I don't want to get my foot stepped on. And so I, skipped out. And Gerard was like, don't skip on this play because it's going to happen faster than you think. And so we only walked through. We didn't get a live rip, I don't think. But so I didn't skip. And then I went back to my human nature and I skipped out and I missed him. I felt so bad. I went over there and did 5 push-ups for him. But I'm good though. I'm good. We finished. He got his touchdown. Nobody can be bad at me anymore. But I'm just happy for my guy. I love Tommy. That's one of my Buckeye brothers. I've known Tommy since I was 18 years old. So he's a great player, but also a great human. I'm just really happy to see him, really prevail in this league and have great seasons back to back.
Hey, CJ, I know you kind of answered it before, how this game is almost like the season, right? The way it ended on a high note after kind of starting rocky. How do you feel about going into the playoffs as a team this year as opposed to your first 2 years? How much more experience do you feel?
Yeah, I feel great. I think I was telling the Evan Washburn out there, just the experience that we do have from me having a little more experience to our defense, our offense, our special teams, our coaches, our front office, everybody. We know what it takes to win these games, and I mean that's just a really, really solid execution plan and executing the little things, because everybody thinks you go to the playoffs, you got to do all the extraordinary stuff, but it's really the ordinary. The team that does the ordinary stuff better than the other team wins. And so I think for me, I got to just take completions, take care of the ball, and I think when we look at the end of the game, whenever we play, we'll see our result and see what happens there.
See, what do you think about where this team just kind of overall to be able to go on a 9-game winning streak and finish the way you are?
I feel like they've been asked this question for so long.
Have been able to do. What does that really say about you guys overall as a team and what you all hope to be in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think when we don't get in our own way, even though every game somehow, some way that's going to happen and on both sides of the ball. But I think when you look at how we're built, roster to coaches to scheme, we're built tough. And I think you look at and here you got Swarm and relentless, and I think that's what we try to embody every game. And I think we finally bought into it. And I think as an offense, swarming looks different than defense swarm or special team swarm. I think we found that groove, and I'm just excited, man. I'm really motivated to get going this next week. But I'm gonna enjoy this win, and enjoy this regular season, and get back to work tonight. And I'm excited to go in the playoffs and try to make some noise. All right, y'all. Have a good one.
Okay, Stroud, there you go, getting ready for the playoffs, third time, man. Can he flip the switch? It's possible. It's possible. Could he wet the bed? Yes, but that mofo can definitely flip the switch. Of all the people, I think CJ Stroud could definitely flip the switch. The Chris Ballard thing. Chris Ballard yelling after Alec Pierce got ejected. I didn't know it was him. I thought it was a media type. That's our best kid. That's our best kid. HD AB brought it up. That ain't going nowhere. That's our best kid. That's our best kid. I wish I could have heard it. I didn't know what was going on. I thought it was a media type. It was Chris Ballard. Let's go to Z Chat.
Swarm.
Logan Taylor. He's one of our best kids. He says, opinion on Kayvon Wallace performance. I thought he sucked today. I thought there were a couple of good instances. He's kind of a box safety, but I thought he sucked today. Look, we have a lot of guys that we're cool with that if they suck, we say they suck. We don't befriend guys and then not criticize. That's not how we do it. So it was fun getting to know Kayvon this week. He wasn't good. He dropped an interception. I would say he got burned by Pierce, but damn, if we're going to hold getting burned by Pierce against everyone, then then everybody sucked today. But I thought he wasn't good today. He's a guy that you're going to probably use in the box role. But he had a really good game. He had a bad game. First couple of games in 400 plus days. We'll see what it looks like, but it wasn't a great game for him. That interception, he looked like an armless guy trying to catch a football. So yeah, Kayvon wasn't good today. I think he would know that too. I think he's a little bit self-aware, but I don't know if you were like expecting me to like say, oh, it wasn't that bad. No, we covered the team, brother. He sucked today, but he was good last game. Dominic says, hey, bro, Jaden Hagen's the future wide receiver slot.
Hey, bro, Alpha Aaron here.
He's a player. Him and Noel, both players for sure. We'll hear them tonight. I was going to play them today. Let's save that for tonight. The stream tonight's going to be fun because we'll have a clear playoff picture. So I actually talked to Higgins and I talked to Noel afterwards. So we'll hear from them. We'll also hear from Woody Marks. We'll make it a rookie edition. How about that? Playoffs and rookies. Let's talk rookies tonight. We'll hear from them. So be on the lookout for that tonight, right after the post week after Sunday Night Football. Immediate reaction to the Texans playoff opponents. So we will do that. MHW Nation says, thank you, Colts, from us Texans fans for retaining Ballard. That's our best kid. That's our best kid. That's our best kid. That's what I'm gonna say every time I see Chris Ballard now. There's another person that I say, yeah, I can tell this story. It's not bad. But I won't say GD. I would be going to hell on scholarship if I said GD after hearing D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud's confessionals. HDAV Traveler, that's one of our best kids on the chat, says, would you classify Ballard as a Fed? Fan experience disguise? No, I would qualify Chris Ballard as a why the hell is he having to sit in the press box? Although, you know what else I saw in the press box? This was crazy. So we're walking out. We went and met with some guys that we saw at Spanky's. By the way, we're going to be at Spanky's this Friday, but last Friday, our guy from Cali, he was up there. So we went and saw him at his seats. Got to mingle with some viewers. Man, I almost got run over by someone on a cart, one of those injury pushing carts. And I was like, damn, what is this dude doing? Daniel Jones was going to get a snack. They can't send someone to get Daniel Jones a snack and get Chris Ballard a seat. So I got to almost get hit by Daniel Jones. It wasn't that serious. It wasn't like Matt Patricia almost breaking my leg with the four-wheeler. But Daniel Jones is like rolling around to get a snack, a halftime snack. I think he wanted some of those tamales or the dessert tray. And Chris Ballard was down there. That's our best kid. That's our best kid. What was I talking about? We'll get to the
high-grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
Oh, yeah. So the other person, so from now on, whenever I see Chris Ballard, I'm going to say, that's our best kid. That's our best kid. That's going to be my thing. Every time I see Jimbo Fisher, I won't say it fully because I don't want to go to hell after hearing D'Amico and CJ. But damn it. I say, damn it, Jamarcus. Because my buddy was on LSU's team. And one time we were at a bar, we were watching a game. This was like during a break. And every time they showed Jimbo Fisher, Florida State was playing, he would just yell, damn it, Jamarcus! Damn it, Jamarcus! And I was like, what is this? Finally, I just said, like, he kept doing it. We just kept laughing. And finally, I was like, dude, why are you doing that? I guess he was a kicker, so he would be on the side field. And he said, like, 3 fields over, it was when Jamarcus Russell was there. It was before they won the national title. He said all you would hear all practice, like on loop, he said for the entire season, all you would hear all season was Jimbo Fisher yelling at Jamarcus Russell, damn it, Jamarcus! Damn it, Jamarcus! So anytime I saw Jimbo Fisher all the way from Florida State to A&M, all I would say is, damn it, Jamarcus! And now it's going to be, that's our best kid, whenever I see Chris Ballard. So there we go. Life comes at you fast. Back to Z chat.
Swarm.
ESG Soccer says dead horse, but there were plenty of seats open. Yeah, that is what that is. That is what that is at that point. At this point, I thought the fans were loud though. I thought it was a loud atmosphere. Rich Boy says Chris Ballard sounds like me every time Woody limps off the field. That's our best kid. That's our best kid. He's fresh right now though. You got to admit the ice up for Woody Marks. He's fresh right now. He's fresh. Ain't no doubt. Dude, I'm telling you, Jeff Wright says that's our best kid. Dude, it was weird. I didn't know what was going on. It was in the press box. The Indianapolis beat. We're up here. Down here is the Indianapolis beat. Sometimes you get homers that are a little bit loud. They exist here too, but you get them down there. Ballard looks a little bit older from behind. Like he's grayed a lot and he's got like the beard. But I just thought it was just like some weird old like Indianapolis guy. That's our best kid. That's our best kid. Every time there was a penalty, that's intentional grounding. That's intentional grounding. That's grounding. You think? You think? There was one where it probably should have been grounding, where Davis Mills threw it and Hutchinson, I guess, was in the vicinity, or Higgins. He's like, that's grounding. That's grounding. And then the referee says, the referee was like, and this was before that's our best kid. But the referee was like, so-and-so was in the vicinity. He's like, what vicinity was he in? Chris Ballard, it was hilarious. It was funny as hell. It was actually pretty amusing. I thought I've never seen him there though. I've covered damn near a dozen Colts games. I've never seen Chris Ballard down there. Maybe times are tough. Don't know. And I've also never gotten run into by an injured quarterback, Daniel Jones. What if I would have ran into Daniel Jones? What if I'd have been walking, I ran into Daniel Jones and like re-aggravated his Achilles? I don't know what he was eating. I think he was trying to eat some candy. There was like a candy tray. Maybe that's why he was scooting so fast. It was an impressive candy layout. I avoided it. I'm on my New Year's resolution, but maybe Daniel Jones just wants some of that candy. Don't know. Let's get to the Texans Turf, Kings of the Turf. Met someone the other day that did what I did and got the Texans Turf. He said, dude, you were right. It's awesome. I enjoy my backyard now. I go out there all the time. I was like, dude, I'm not lying. I was a customer before all this. That's my guy, Dan the man. There's a lot of crappy turf companies that will half-ass it. Dan's not one of those guys. He's the man. And I was a customer before. I'll be a customer for life. I got nothing but love for what Dan brings to the table and what he does. Always green, always clean. No more insects, no more mud. Family will love it. You'll love it. And this is the best time for it to enjoy it. Go to TexansTurf.com. Check out all the reviews, everything. You'll see it. They'll do full soccer fields. They'll do just a nice little home. They'll do it. And it's customized. That's the beauty of it. Some people think you just slap some carpet on there. No, it's drained. It drains just like grass. It drains perfectly. They got the pebbles. There's layers to this thing. And they'll get it done in a day for you. And they'll plug up the fences and everything like that. It's absolutely incredible. TexansTurf.com. In the spirit of the greatness of Texans Turf, the Locker Room presents the Kings of the Turf. Turf King 1. Tommy Togiai. I'm going to put a rest to this. Like, we got to quit saying he's an unsung hero. Like, D'Amico was asked, and it's Cole. I love Cole. But he's like, yeah, he's not unsung, brother. There ain't nothing underrated about Tommy Togiai. Tommy Togiai is one of the most important pieces on this defense. He is one of the most important pieces on this defense. If you want to say unsung, I think you could maybe say Sheldon Rankins at this point. We don't talk a lot about Sheldon Rankins. He's had a hell of a season. Tommy Togiai ain't underrated. There's some guys who are underrated for like 8 years. Oh, he's underrated. I mean, we've been saying this for 8 years. He's obviously not underrated. Tommy Togiai is not underrated. And he's also a king of the turf. Got a touchdown, had a forced fumble. He's been great. And that Samoan throw up, I gave Cody a hard time. Now everybody's doing it. There's a lot of culture vultures out there for the Samoan, the Samoan throw up. I guess it's acceptable.
Race car!
I guess the culture vultures with the Samoan throw up. Everybody wants to throw it up. Like these kids in the burbs throwing up West Side and stuff. He said you could do it, though, Tommy Togiai. It's a celebration. I'm just kidding. Turf King 2. Fairbairn. You're lucky to have him, but it's also symbolic of a bad offense when your kicker ties the record for most field goals in the season. Thank God for Kyami Fairbairn. You're fortunate to have him. You got to love him. But, damn. How many field goals we kicking? The most ever. So shout out to Fairbairn, Turf King 2. Turf King 3. Rest in peace to DMX. And shout out to X Hutchinson, Xavier Hutchinson. There was a time not too long ago when Xavier Hutchinson was unable to hold it down when Nico Collins would be hurt or other guys would be hurt. Like you were screwed. He's come a long way this year, and he's improved, and the wide receiver room as a whole has improved. He's actually been pushed down the depth chart, but he's still become a better player. And you got 1 year remaining on his contract. He's a solid player. He's gotten bigger. He's gotten stronger. He's gotten faster. He's gotten better. And that's what you want. You talk about a day 3 pick, a day 3 draft pick, like where a large portion of these guys don't make teams. Xavier Hutchinson is a hell of a pick. I think they hit a couple guys in the second round from the same college. But Xavier Hutchinson, man, you would not felt comfortable with him holding it down for Nico. And he held it down. And he did his thing. Turf King 4. Look, we just got to be honest. I don't know if the can man was going to let the Colts lose today. Alec Pierce. Anyone can get it. And everyone did get it from the Texans. He was ejected, though. So Turf King 4 for the Texans, that blowhard official. What a thin-skinned individual that guy was. Look, I'm never going to sympathize with the Colts. I don't have much love for Indianapolis. I think Shane Steichen's a great coach. I don't know if Chris Ballard's a good GM. That's our kid. That's our best kid. But man, luckily this game wasn't like 2 years ago where it was win and get in, because that would lead off SportsCenter with all the talk about poor officiating and stuff like that. I mean, you got to be an insecure little dong individual to eject someone in that situation. And this is a guy who's going for incentives, I think 1,000 yards, whatever. I mean, he just gets up and argues a simple call and a little nudge. Man, that was pathetic. But it gets you a Turf King when we're talking about the Texans' interests. So there you go. Those are the biggest takeaways. Texans and the Texans Turf Kings of the Turf. Go to TexansTurf.com. Texans get the dub. Texans don't take Indy serious. And now we'll see what happens with Pittsburgh and Baltimore. And I got to ask this question. If Pittsburgh clinches last week, do the Texans approach the second half the same? I think the answer is no. I don't think it would have hurt their feelings if they didn't have to play Baltimore. But I think if Pittsburgh was right there for you, I think they probably keep the starters in a little bit longer. But they ended up getting the dub anyways, and maybe they'll get to play Pittsburgh. Starting to feel kind of weird. Does it feel like people are sleeping on the Steelers? Could the Steelers get the job done? I wouldn't necessarily bet on the Steelers, or would I? But maybe they can. Who knows? Broncos are taking care of business against the Chargers, but not really impressively. But Baltimore versus Pittsburgh will decide the first round. We'll be live right after for the post-week outlook, which we usually do after Monday Night Football when the week concludes. It concludes Sunday night this week. We'll talk about the playoff picture. So we're going double duty. That's what we're doing. In the meantime, here's what I'm going to do. So my boy recommended this taco shop. It's taco shop all like down in like the Hispanic area of town. I'm eating healthy, but I think I can get like a spicy ass authentic taco bowl. Now everybody's going to recommend their favorite taco places naturally. So I'm going to go check that out. I might combine that with some
high-grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
I'm going to sit back. I'm going to watch the Steelers versus the Ravens. And we're going to see how this goes. But this has been a fun regular season. I appreciate everyone for rolling around. We will be live at Spanky's this Friday. John McClain going to be there. He said the posse's going to be in the building. So we'll be there. We might have to make some more room this week. It's been pretty solid, pretty stout. We filled up the back room. We might have to make some more room this week for the playoffs. Is it going to be Pittsburgh? Is it going to be Baltimore? Do you care? I think most people would rather play Pittsburgh, but Baltimore could be a possibility. You know what I cared about most? Avoiding the possibility of having to go to Buffalo. Texans avoided that. I don't think that they cared about it as much as me based on their actions, but they avoided it nonetheless, which is not the worst thing. So we'll see how it goes. It's going to be fun. Mr. All Amazing on Z Chat.
Swarm.
Just came in the live stream. What are your thoughts on D'Amico Ryans not making it a priority to lock in the 5C by sitting the starters in the second half? This is actually a perfectly timely question, my friend, whether you just came in or not. Shout out to Mr. All Amazing for the assist. Thought it was weird. Maybe he wouldn't have had his feelings hurt if they didn't have to go to Baltimore. Maybe he thinks they can beat the Jags. He doesn't have respect for the Jags. Maybe he just really, really wanted to ice up. I don't know. I thought it was an interesting play, to be honest with you. That was an interesting play. I was a little bit surprised by it, but it worked out for him. Shout out to Sleeper again. Download that Sleeper app. Pops was a half yard off this week. He's on fire. Download that Sleeper app and ride along. Shout out to Texans Turf as well. I'll talk to you tonight at the conclusion of Sunday Night Football. We will know who the Texans are playing. We'll actually be able to go through the whole bracket. We'll also hear from the rookies that we caught up with in the locker room, their locker room, not this locker room. And most importantly, always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. What a hell of a regular season it's been. What a hell of a playoff run it's going to be. This is really, really fun times. We're all in this together. That's our best Keenan.
Top 2 and we not too plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do.